Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, continuing on our pandemic projects, trying to do one of these a day until we can get through this pandemic and get out there and go fishing again. This one's a treat. This one was sent in by Steve. This is an Orvis 301. It's similar to the 300 Orvis, made in Italy, circa 1960s, 70s, I guess. I'm not certain exactly when. And it was... it's fine. Steve said that he's tuned this up, but the problem is when we go to trip the bail, it doesn't trip. There's a pronounced knock. So we're going to go try and figure out what that is. Now, on the bail itself, there's a pin that comes through here, and let's see if we can trip the pin. Yeah, so we trip the pin, and it looks like, for the most part, we have some spring action there. But for some reason, when you get to the point where that thing should hit the trip lever, something's going wrong there to prevent this from completing the trip. So let's take the reel apart. I'll have to remove the rotor, and then we'll see what's going on there. So it's not a normal service in the sense that I understand the reel's already been serviced, but it is a problem here in terms of not having the bail trip, and that's what we're going to try to address today. So first thing you want to do is remove the external parts. That includes the spool, and then since we're not going to service it, I'm not going to remove that. Well, I guess we can. We can remove the handle and the main gear just to show you how to do it. The handle comes off backwards, and we want to take these screws out of the side plate. And while I take these screws out of the side plate, I'm looking at a couple of things. I want to make sure that they're all the same size. Yes, I don't have a protective glove on. That's because I'm thinking I'm just going to have to be working on the bail and probably not get involved too much in any kind of greasy, grimy activity. If it becomes that, I'll certainly add a glove to my list. And you'll notice in the background there that I am using a parts tray. That's where the pieces and parts are going now. It's simply a bottom of a milk jug, but you can use anything, a fast food container, a coffee can, whatever suits you best in terms of keeping track of your pieces and your parts, but please do that. Also, you'll notice I'm taking a picture by way of the video here. I recommend that you take pictures along the way if you are in the process of doing the reel, and that way if you get caught up anywhere, you'll know that it's the orientation, the pieces, the parts, the sequence you took them out are all there in that note. So everything looks fine here. The main gear looks fine. We're kind of clean inside here. That's fine. We're going to have to remove the axle shaft to remove the rotor. So let's go ahead and take that screw out. And just keep these assemblies together. It's a fairly simple engineering here. It's a main gear. Main gear with a stud on it that rests in a crosswind block that drives up and down. That moves the axle shaft up and down. So we'll remove the axle shaft, we'll remove the crosswind gear. And a simple trick for this one is put that screw right back into the axle shaft, that way you don't lose it. And especially if you're working with a reel that has a lot of parts, then you might want to take care to do that, because those little screws tend to get confusing. All right, now look for the orientation. So this should be rolling this way, so it's going to unscrew the opposite way. This is a screw-on rotor, much like some of the Mitchells that are out there. And this one you have to hold by getting a nail or some other thing. There's a hole in here. You can see it goes through. That enables you to hold it, and then you want to turn opposite the way that the bail is going to be running. So this collects line this way, so you want to turn it opposite. I should have to turn it up. There we go. Well, I was wrong. You turn it in the same direction as what's collecting. So at any rate, get something to hold that main gear, or the pinion gear, then you can unscrew. That'll show you underneath here. So underneath here we have a bearing, and we have 2 points. Those 2 points are going to act as the bail trip. And then we're going to have the assembly under here. So we have a ramp feature here. You can see the it's wider on the bottom than on the top. Hopefully you can see that. So you narrow here, there. So this should pick up the stud here, and that stud should force this in. So I'm not quite sure why, when we go to a trip mode here, why that's not springing, because it seems, oops, that was my hand. It should simply hit like that and trip it, and it's tripping this way. So, that's a, unless we can't get the clearance here, because it looks like the bail spring may be loose. Oh, I think we just solved that problem. We've got about 15 turns here in terms of the bail spring. So I think what we probably have here is a bail wire that's bent. The way to get it to trip was to move it out, and so let's see if we can't put this back together with the newly found piece. While we're at it, I'm not sure if Steve serviced the bearing up here. I'm going to guess probably not. Probably because you can't get a screwdriver in those. So I think the best we're going to be able to do, the bearings are turning, I think the best we're going to be able to do is let's just soak that with some WD-40 at the moment. Those screw heads are shot, so it's probably a one and done kind of bearing situation here. So we'll just clean them up. We'll make sure that they get oiled well. Again, this is kind of interesting in terms of the bail. Yeah, you can see the bail is out around here. You can see that should be a perfect arch, and it's nowhere near there. So what's clearly happening here is that somebody was compensating for that, pushed that out. When they pushed that out, this spring moved this over too far to engage. At least that's the thinking at the moment. And we're going to just kind of go ahead here, bring this back in, make sure that that other pin is set. We're going to put this on. And of course, to put this on, you thread it the opposite way. And you want to hold your pinion gear with that little stud. Use a nail, use something. And this is a problem because the bail is not resetting now, so just keep doing this until it tightens. There we go. And then I'm going to remove this side. This side doesn't have the spring to it. And I think what we're going to see is that this bend is, well, we do have a spring on the side as well. Well, we have to do what we can. So this is what happens with the bail wires. They get jammed like this. They generally can be straightened with some hand pressure and brought back into conformity.